Let us begin. I will try to make tic-tac-toe using RxJS. I don't know almost anything about RxJS. Still, I hope this will be informative to some of you, and I hope that the people who will get mad by my inherent scrubness will be sharing their mind in the comments and saying what I could do better, because my ultimate goal here is to learn RxJS deeply. I'm using RxJS 4 because that's the version I'm most familiar with, and I already have this basic scene set up. I have some squares which have a index attribute. I have some buttons which have a side attribute. I have some basic styles. It looks like this here on the right, and I'm logging out Rx in the console to see that my JavaScript is working. So you can see here, I have a development server using parcel. So let's get to it. RxJS observables, streams are basically collections that emit values over time. So kind of like arrays, but over time. So if I would like to get input from a DOM element, I would have to make that into an observable. So let's first find the board element. Query selector, so I named it board. So that works. And now I want to do board element stream is rx.observable.from event, and now passing the element, and now the type of event, so a click event. Everything broke. Const. Everything is working again. So now I have a stream, but the stream doesn't do anything unless there is something that subscribes to it, that listens to it. So here with subscribe, I'm saying that every time a value is emitted from the stream, I want to call this function on it, which is just logging it out. So now whenever I click, I should get something, and indeed I do. Excellent. Another key part of RxJS are the operators. Operators are functions that do perform some kind of operation on the data that is coming from the stream. So I can do a map, for example, and if this is an event, I want to return the event's target. So now I should be logging the target. Excellent. And I'm actually not content with just having a target. I want to have the dataset index. So element dataset index. Now I should have 0, 1, 4, 8. Good, perfect. All right, so we have input from the board. Now I need input from these guys here to choose the side that I'm on. Let's find the element. Buttons element. Name it buttons, and let's call it side. Buttons element. Const side buttons stream. And yeah, it's almost the same. I will take this here, copy, not the board element, but rather the buttons, side buttons element, and let's see what this does. Okay, I'm not listening to it, so now I'll start listening to it. Okay, undefined. I think that's because we're looking for the index, but actually here we want the side. Perfect. One more thing about RxJS. Very often people talk about functional reactive programming. Functional implying that there are small composable functions that are easy to test, that together can do big things. So I want to get rid of these anonymous functions here and replace them with named functions that I can reuse. I see that this is the same both, so I'll make a function that gives me a target. So const get target equals event, and then event loop target. Now I will replace this with get target, and it should still work, and it does. And this is also almost the same, this guy here, at least this part. So what I can do is query this and do a get attribute, which is a function that takes in an attribute, which returns a function which takes in an element, which returns the attribute on that element. And now I can use this function to make a new function that gets index, is get attribute index. And I can do the same thing for the side, get side. So now I should be able to replace this with get index. Actually, let's try and be cute about this. Get uppercase done noise. Something went wrong. What is going wrong? Get target, get side, do console.log. Okay, this is working. Ah, right, it's not element, but it's element and dataset attribute. There we go. Perfect. One more thing, we only want to ever pick the side once. There's a handy operator that allows us to specify that we only need one of these, and that is called take. So we just say take one. Now I can take one, and I cannot take any more. So cool. These are observables that are made from DOM events, but you can also have observables that are made out of static values. So I'll make a static representation of the board. Call it board. It's going to be an array of 9 elements, and they will be filled with empty strings. And now to make this into an observable, I'll just use the same pattern. So const board stream equals rx.observable.off and board. Just board. Like that. And now if I listen to it and get rid of this, now I should have board. Now as soon as I'm listening to it, I get its value because it's ready and it is available as soon as I start listening to it. So now we have all the parts. Now I just need to set up an observable where whenever I click on the board, well, first I click on the side buttons, then whenever I click on the board, I get the index, and then I take that index and modify this board event observable and keep track of it as well. So I will make a new variable called GameStream. I think that the most important is, I think now board element stream doesn't really make much sense as a name. I'll call this make move stream. So this will become make move stream. So to combine observables, we have a handy dandy function here. It's called combine latest. Amazing. So long as each of the source observables has emitted at least one element, merge specified sequences into one observable sequence. Excellent. This is exactly what we want. So combine latest, and I will give it the observables. So I want the side buttons, and I want the board. Board element, board 3, board 3. Now this, now I need to define a function. This is called a selector function. This is basically a way for me to define what this data will look like in the next step. So now I need to define the values that are coming in. First I'm getting a value from the make move stream, which is the index. Then I'm getting the side, and finally I'm getting the board. And I want to return all of that in one object and have an index with the value index, have a key side with the value side, and have a keyboard with the value board. And now I need to start listening to my game stream. And now game stream. And now, once I have clicked here and somewhere on the board, I should get an object that looks like this. And indeed I do. This is amazing. But we aren't modifying the board yet. So a simple and wrong way would be to create a global variable for this, but in observable world we want to use scan. Scan is kind of like reduce, but where reduce gives you the value at the end, scan gives you the value at every single step. So basically this gives us the previous value and the new value, allows us to make some operations, and then saves that internally so that the next time there's a new value, we still have access to the previous value. This is exactly what we need. So I'm getting an object, okay, so I need to say that I'm getting a previous state, I'm getting a new state, and I'm getting an index, I, which is how many times scan has been called. And I'm returning a function, and I'll just return new state, and I'll console.log new state is new state. So let's see. New state is not defined. Of course it isn't. Okay, so new state is, it's the same thing basically. Notice that it didn't happen for the first time. This is because I'm not giving it an initial value. I can fix that by adding an empty object here. Now I'm always getting a new state. Always logging new state. So from the new state, I want to get the index and I want to get the side, although that never changes. So I will do const index side new state. This means that I'm getting the key index and the key side from new state and assigning them into these variables. So this is the new state. For the board, it's a bit different. I always want the old board because that is the one that I'm iterating over. That is the one that I'm modifying. So if it is the first call, I don't have the old board because on the first call, previous state is this. It's an empty object. So if I equals 0, board is new state. Board. Otherwise, it's previous state. That board. And I'm missing a question mark here to complete my ternary. And now, actually, to be functional and not mutate data, I will make a copy of this by doing a slice. And now, what I can do is board I equals side, sorry, not board I, board index return everything here. So now I should have basically the same thing, but the board should now be assigned an X or an O in the correct index. So now I should have it on index 2. There it is. Now in index 5, nothing. Okay, because new state doesn't have a board. I want the old state. This is it. And now finally 6. And yeah, perfect. I will extract this into a function as well, just so that this thing is a bit more readable. So, I don't know, let's call this make move. Takes in a object, or rather a previous state, new state, and an I. And it's also basically does the same thing that it does here. Okay, and now I can do scan with make move. That's not a word. Make move and still pass in the initial object. And it's still working. Amazing. So, how do I win? I need to check for a win. Let's define the winning states. Win states. So basically in tic-tac-toe, you win if you have 3 in a row. So what I will do is that I will define the indexes of the winning combinations, and if all those indexes have the same value, then that value has 1. So this is the top row, in the middle, this is the bottom row, then 0, 3, 6 is the first column, 1, 4, 7 is the second column, and 2, 5, 8 is the last column, and then 2, 4, 6 is the first diagonal, and or rather the second diagonal, and 0, 4, and 8 is the final diagonal. And these will all be arrays. Something is broken. Okay, I have an empty map here. That was a bit hasty. Alright, and now I need to make the win states into a stream as well, because I need to access it. So I will basically copy the board stream and make it into a win states stream. Amazing. So, first of all, let's combine latest. Win states. And so from this guy, I'm getting an object that looks like this. So this is something like board and size and board and side. And I'll actually say that I don't care about the index here. I just care about the side. This should be fine. Board and side. And now from the win states, I'm getting win states. And what I want back is the win states. And I will just do board is board inside that board, and side is the exact same thing but for side. Oh no, oh no. Side Perfect. So now we should have an object that looks like this. Combine latest, win states, source that subscribes and function. This is new. Win state stream. This is why. Okay. Win states is not defined, as it shouldn't. Perfect. So now I have this thing. So now to do my dark business with the win states, I will make this into a function as well. So let's imagine first check win. I have an object that has a board, a side, and some win states. And I have this in a function. So I need to check every single win state, and for each index in that win state, I need to check if on the board that index has the side value. So let's do that. Index that for each, so for each combination, we need to check all the values in the combination. So we can do combination dot map index, and then do board index equals side. So now this will be the combination will be okay. Let's see. First temp my latest, and then actually let's map this as well. Map and return. And let's just log this. Combine latest? Nope. Combination. Okay, so I'm getting all the win states. For each of these guys, I am looking at 0, 1, and 2, and then looking at that index on the board. So is board 0 my value? Is board 1 my value? Is board 2 my value? If yes, then all of this will be true. So basically, if this every has returns correct if to boolean, if all of these are true, then temp will be true. Let's just test this out. So I'm expecting false. I'm not using check win. Map check win. So I'm expecting false. I'm expecting false, 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 and now this is true. Perfect. So this combination is now truthy. Let's try again. False, false, and now I'm expecting combination number 5 to be true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. True. Perfect. And const temp. Okay. And now I can do if some, or rather any of these are true, I want to log temp. So I'm expecting false, false, true. Perfect. Let's do false, 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 true. Excellent. And I don't actually need this temporary variable anymore. I can just return this immediately. False. And now true, Perfect. Okay. Cool. Now we actually do need to perform one kind of side effect. We need to update the board with our values. So I have a very inefficient way to do this. Const update board. And so actually I need to do this before this bit, because right now I'm only returning true. So I don't have to move. I think I'll make it here. Update board. So I'll take in getting an object which has a board. Just take the board out immediately, and I will do const squares. And now I need to access the DOM document that get query selector all, and I want to select all of the squares. This returns a node list, so I will convert it into an array, and basically squares for each. For each square, if board index has any kind of value, that means that this returns fluffy. I want square dot text content equal that value. So, and this doesn't return anything. This is a side effect. It just goes and touches some global state, something that is not part of this stream. So I will use a do for this. This is what you use for side effects, and I can do it like this. So now I should be drawing on the board as well. That's it. And indeed, I am true. Perfect. All right, I'm almost done. I will make some very simple computer moves. I will just have the computer select the first free square and then put their mark there. So this is something that I would like help with. I didn't find a better place to put it than here. Or actually, no, I can make a new function. Well, no, because it needs to be inside the make move, otherwise the board will not get stored. So I'll just add a comment, make computer move as well. And let's just see. I need to find the first. Okay, I'll just do 3 spaces. 3 spots. Is board dot map and index. So what I want to do here is that if Boolean element, rather, yeah, element is fine. Return index. Else return false. Now I want to filter this for Boolean, so only the true values will remain. And now I should have a list of free spots. So now I can just do board index of free spots of 1 equals and basically I know that the sides are X and O, so if player side is X, then this is an O, otherwise it's an X. And let's just make this into a variable as well for clarity. Computer side computer side and computer side. So now let's see, I expect it to draw an O here. Nope. Debugger. So what is going on? Free spots. Right. I think I know I made a mistake. So I want it to not be truthy, I want it to be falsy. And now if I take O, I expect it to draw an X here. Why did it draw it there? Interesting. Let's try again. Is it because element is because element is 0 and then it ignores 0? Interesting. Is element. Element is empty. And let's do index. What is the index? Index is, well, okay, of course. And then, okay, and filter boolean, so I believe that it is it is returning 0. And then this is 0 is being excluded by this filter boolean. So let's just make this a bit more explicit then. Index return as a function and returns if index 0 or boolean index. So now click X. If I click here, I expect an O to appear here. And now I expect an O to appear here. Perfect. And if I click X here, I expect an O to appear here. And now if I click here, I expect an O to appear here. Perfect. And nice. True. Okay. And now one more thing. I guess in the check win we could return who won as well. So let's see what our check win is like. So check win side. I will make this into a variable and check if the player has won or if the computer has won. So const player has won equals the same thing. Let's make this function into a variable because we're going to use it again. Check word for combination, and I need a states, so I need win states. I need a side, and I need board, and this will be an object. Terms. Doesn't need a return. And I don't need to as I'm destructuring it here, I can just call this data, and this can become checkboard combination data. Let's see if this still it won't still work. Return player as one. Okay, now it should still work. And now expecting true. Perfect. Now I will do the same for const computer as one, and data is data, but side equals data dot side. Or rather, let's pull this into a variable again. Computer side equals data dot side equals x. If it is x, then this is an O. Otherwise, it's an X. And I will say data side computer side. Now, if do the same for player. Okay, so now this should still work, and now expecting true. Now let's make the computer win. So it's gonna click. All right. It's an interesting bug. Anyway, I will now click here. Now I will click here, it will play here, and now if I play here, then I'm expecting this to be true. True. Perfect. And maybe I can just return a string. And I'll put this into an alert. No, I will need to message, and if message, I will alert the message. So suck, tuck, tuck. Now I'm expecting an alert. Player is one. And now let's do tuck. What am I now? This guy, and now I'm expecting computer is one. Computer is one. Thank you very much. I hope this did it. If you have any tips on how to make this better and more efficient, I am all ears.